Hi, we're back again with Lissa Black-Facet, my wonderful friend. And we've got Darby with us. I'm going to lift this up so you can see Darby. That's Darby. Also amazing Darby. And I welcome you back to join us to talk about this very uncomfortable, very difficult, and important topic of heroin. And heroin use in our high school students and our young adults. For those of you that haven't seen our first clip, we are talking with Lissa, who is the mother of Darby. And Darby died 5 years ago of a heroin overdose. He was 23 years old. And he was attending UMass Amherst. The Facets did not know at the time that he was a heroin addict. They found out after a phone call. They had spoken with Darby earlier in the day. I think it was a Sunday, maybe? Saturday or Sunday? Doesn't matter. It was a weekend.
I don't remember. I tell you the truth.
Yeah.
It's hard to put that into a chronology even now.
Exactly, because it's so surreal.
Yeah.
But they had received a phone call from Darby, just sort of random, talking to them, and it was wonderful. And then later that night, Lissa saw that Darby's phone was calling her again. So she picked up, assuming it was Darby, and instead it was the paramedics saying that they were performing life-saving procedures on him, and that he was on his way, I think, to the hospital or at the hospital. And what a shock it was. And then Lissa and Darby's dad, her husband Dan, got in their car and drove over 2 hours to get up to Northampton. And so in our first clip, we spoke about heroin. We spoke about the reality of the use, the easy and cheap access to heroin. And also we addressed the fact that many parents and family members and community does not know how easy and how prevalent heroin use is. Lissa mentioned in the last clip that oftentimes we don't even realize the prejudice and bias that we have, and we think, oh, well, heroin, that belongs in the city. That belongs to those kind of kids that do heroin. As if that even matters, because as Lissa said in the last clip, they're all our children. And at some point or another, we will be discussing that in another conversation that we have. And then heroin is now in our suburban neighborhoods, and these youth and young adults are overdosing, and they're becoming extremely addicted to heroin. So today we're going to start with some poems that Darby wrote. And the first poem Liz is going to read, and it's just a nice poem from Darby.
So he was a writer, like I am, and he kept journals to himself throughout his childhood, and these poems were ones that I hadn't come across until his memorial service, when his cousins were on his laptop and put together a number of his poems and writings for us and for his friends and everyone at the memorial. And this is a short poem which kind of speaks to the mystery, and it's called Fire. Fire, it's the never-ending blaze that engulfs my mind in mystery. Fire, it's the burning flame that lights my soul. Fire, it's the mystery of who we are and why we're here. Fire, it creates and destroys life in an instant. Fire is the mystery of life, but nobody knows what fire really is. It's just there waiting to be discovered.
It's a beautiful poem. It gives you a sense of Darby's deep reflection and interest in the expansiveness of the universe. What's beyond? What's beyond? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, people addicted to any substance are incredibly sensitive. And being so sensitive makes it difficult to be on the planet. I give this image that we're all these like sheep that jump off this airplane with their parachutes, and we're ready for love. Like, oh, cool, we signed up for love. This is going to be great, and everyone's going to be wonderful. And then we land on the earth, and we look around. There's all these kind of like wolves biting at us, right? People that don't get us. People that tell us that we're wrong, that we're bad, that we have to belong a certain way. And for these very, very sensitive people, it's too painful. It's like, wait, we came for love. What the heck is going on here? This isn't what we signed up for, and yet we're here. We're like on this planet as these sweet little sheep, like, isn't it all about love? So the next poem that Lissa is going to read, I think is very poignant Lissa brought up in our last video about the really deep-seated sense of loss or frustration, disruption in harmony that people feel when they're on the planet for love, and they're very sensitive. And that part of them is not being nourished and not being fed through our school systems, through sometimes our churches, our sports, any organization. So many of our systems are these hierarchies of who's good enough and who's not good enough, and value. And for sensitive people that are here for harmony, for love, for getting all along together, we don't know how to function. How do you function in a world like that? It doesn't even make sense. Mm-hmm. So this is a beautiful poem that I think really shows the frustration of young adults, high school students, and even adults with trying to address these things that are happening in our world through the human, the human ego, the systems that we create. And sometimes we create them out of woundedness, out of our own struggles and insecurities, and we don't realize that we're perpetuating the woundedness and the insecurities and the struggles in others by what we have created as a way to live by. And I think this is a great poem that speaks to that.
Well, exactly, and I think that at this age, I think many of us feel this way about the culture we live in. We feel it because it's the truth of what's bombarding us, and what feels like is bombarding our senses. And it just doesn't a lot of it doesn't make sense. And I think as we get older, we learn to compartmentalize that and put it away. And we all kind of go a little crazy because we're not living our truths. But at this age, I think that in this poem in particular really addresses that. It's just kind of raw, and it hasn't been processed into something else. It's just what it is for the teenage brain going through this. So this is called Translucent Paradox Revised. Lifeless ambitions encompass our thoughts. Useless matter pelts these recurring inconsistencies. Machines crunching, lives lost between the wayward sheath. Born without a sense of decency, chained beneath this fence, spewing the futility. Children conjoined to TVs, SUVs, destroy the lives of the credulous. Eyes scream out in agony. Your smile can't save you now, the slaughter of the innocent. Marching in unison, the drones forge ahead, lacerating the pulse of the people, a tourniquet of sorts. A translucent paradox, spinning without a head, lost without its master, skin rots away, exposing the truth. Lies exude out of their prevarications, vocal cords constrict. Delusory banter can no longer flow from the tongues of these experienced simpletons. The plight of the public, forcing apart this embryonic sack of graceless judgment. Wait for a second. Enjoy the demise of these corporate media whores. Sit back and relax. The world is yours.
So it really sounds like he's trying to process. He's so upset and angry about what he sees, perhaps, as a way of us being desensitized, being taken away from our own souls, our own truth, our own spirit, whatever you want to say. But at the end, he's like, we're gonna win this this battle, this fight, this. And so there is that piece where he's naming it, and then he's trying to transform it at the end. There's a sense of confidence that he has in that one, I think.
Yeah, I agree. There is that, and that's why he puts paradox in the title, I suppose. And it's just a way. It's his way through writing. And I don't know if he shared these with his friends. He didn't share them with us, and I wouldn't have either at his age. But it's a way for him to get to the bottom of his feelings of betrayal, I think. And the language he uses is very dramatic and but that's exactly I think why he chose this venue for doing it, because this is a way, this is what writers do. They get to know themselves through their writing, and he just puts his pain, all of it, out there. And I do agree that he sees a way out too.
Mm-hmm.
And
There's that hope
so,
in there.
Yeah, there's
that
hope. There's still hope in there. Yeah.
And then the last poem I'm going to read. I'm going to take my arm from around you, Darby.
I'll put my arm around.
You got him? You got him? Okay, good. This one is actually about heroin. And so we thought we'd introduce you to Darby, the truth of Darby. And as I said in the last video, when your child or young adult or sibling or spouse, whoever it is addicted to a substance, doesn't matter if it's alcohol, pot, yes, people get addicted to marijuana, at least for sure emotionally, any drug, any addiction, it's the addiction that's often talking, not the person. So you got to hear Darby. And now we're going to read this poem. I'll read this poem. No title. Heroin is an interesting vice, clamping on, then letting go. This sickness has dug its way in, etching a path as it goes. These sores seem to know. Who can really tell? I wake up knowing there was no sleep involved, just pain. Should I have to burden the suffering of 10,000 men, women, and children? Who really knows? I cough up blood. The liquid dribbles down my jawline. It gleams in the sun. Can you see yourself in my discomfort? I've been sick for years. No help is needed to facilitate this disease. I know these lines are sprinkled with cliches. I don't care. Dissect what you want. Complain about the structure or schemes of these lines. These lines come from a sore at the center of my heart. Art, fart, aardvark. What the fuck is an aardvark anyway? It looks like a teacher I once had, dazed and confused, bruised and abused. See, I did it again. That stupid fucking rhyme. I write because I love to waste time, wishing I was in a different place with a different line. Mm-hmm. So we see our boy Darby, and we also see all the aspects of him, including what takes over in him because of heroin and non-heroin. And it's his way to try to stay here on the planet. And yet it's a simultaneous way to get off the planet. Mm-hmm. You know, how to resolve this. How to resolve to be such a big, loving, sensitive spirit person in a world that feels so small, in a world that feels so painful, in a world that one can't really understand. And so
well, it's very difficult for me to listen to that poem. Mm-hmm. Because my question is, well, where was I when my son was suffering and hurting? And I do realize that children are not going to share their innermost lives with you in that way, at that time, all the time, some of the time. And I could have been more aware, but I couldn't have, because this has been a learning process for me, and that's a big subject for another session like this, a very big session about that. But I also think, to be honest, again, we spoke a little bit about this last time. Why do people do drugs? And I think that there is a very complicated but very simple too. People do drugs. People become addicted. That's another part of that. But it's to feel good. It's to feel good. And he was not. He was feeling horrible, and he wasn't able to reconcile these things in himself. And I certainly understand that. We've all been teenagers, and we've all I think all of us have gone through something like that, times when we just were in darkness. But, feeling better might be not just to feel what you might think is happiness, but just to go to sleep might be such a relief. When you're in such a dark place. It can be any of those things, but I think that's why we do it, and that brings up this other immense issue of what we do to each other as a culture, and we don't honor ourselves, we don't honor our truths, we don't support each other, we don't give each other the care that we need. And I'm not saying that these things aren't going to still happen, that people go through these. Life, that's life. It's, you go through these dark periods, and you come out of it. You have to go through these. It's like the only way out is through. Well, that's the truest thing I've ever heard. You go through it, you go through it, you go through it. But if there's no support, if there's no real support for that, and that's, to me, is the key to restructuring the way, seriously, the way we live in this world, and care for each other. And that's one of the major insights that I've had going through this process of losing him in this way.
Yeah, one of the things that I do is I work with communities and families to do building of the community. There is a purposeful way to build community, whether it's a school, a family, our humanity at large. And I actually got this from a Unitarian Universalist youth advisor program, Denny Reinberg, and it's been modified a little bit over the years. But basically, there are just a few steps to building community. One is simple bonding. People get together to do activities. So our children go to school, they do activities. They're at recess, they're out playing things, maybe they're doing a project together, they're learning instruments together in chorus. So they're bonding, they're doing an activity. Then the next level is opening up. When people start to talk about who they are, like, oh, this is my birthday, or I got a new puppy, or my dad and mom are getting a divorce. People start sharing more. And this happens in businesses too. After that stage of opening up, bonding to do the activity, then opening up, the most important piece is step 3, which is affirmation. And that's what Lissa, I think, is talking about. That's what we're talking about today. Affirmation. We do not affirm each other. So what happens is when somebody opens up and says, oh, this is my birthday, and then people say, oh, that's cool, that's great, that's wonderful. Or people could say, well, that's a stupid day to have your birthday, or whatever. Our kids are getting bashed. As adults, we're getting bashed everywhere we turn. So where's the affirmation? Where are we being affirmed? If we're not affirmed, we don't want to keep opening up. We don't want to belong. And if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, we want to belong. That's so important to us. After we have our survival, our food, and our shelter taken care of, the need to belong. And so if we're not being affirmed in our systems, in our community, large and small, then when the next step that always happens, which is the stretching, we call it, or crisis, if we have not been affirmed, and if we have not built a strong community in which we are engaged, then it breaks down. A community will break down. A child will get really into drugs, which are addictive. Technically, chemically, they're addictive. Then there is the breakdown. There's the crashing. If we have been affirmed in our lives, or there's affirmation going on around us, then we can get through it, and we can get to a deeper level of sharing and intimacy with the group more than we ever imagined. And right now, Lissa and I being here, I think that we really show what affirmation can do. Lissa's entire process and everything that's happened has been affirmed over and over and over again, which then meant that she has come to, and we'll be talking about this because that's a super incredible part of this, that it has come to the point where Lissa now has a level of being able to share deeper in her world than was ever possible before.
Yeah.
And you just look like we came together to do some work together. Lissa didn't even know what I did. We came together to do some work together, clearly opening crisis. I mean, it was all coming out. It was all coming out. It was all coming out, and it was very easy to affirm her and to affirm her process of what she was going through and validate everything about her grieving process. That'll be another clip where we talk about the grieving process and giving people the space and the time and the affirmation that this is your process and it's not like anybody else's. You need to do it your way, and we support that and hold the space for you and empower you to do that. And then from that, now Liz is able to sit here and talk about it.
Right, and again, this brings up one of the major themes when we talked about doing this. Is this shame-blame game that we play, that we don't see each other. We are not trained to look into each other's eyes and see each other. We want to create ourselves, put ourselves into some sort of identity that is sanctioned. Right. We all do that. We all do that. Darby did that. I did that. We all did that. And we're judged constantly, and we judge ourselves constantly. And this is really about a kind of mutual respect that goes beyond any categories like this. This is a basic human respect for one another. And this is the kind of respect where there aren't winners and losers. Right. Those categories don't make any sense. And that's another thing that I've learned in this. And also, with addiction, the process of addiction. So I just wanted to bring that up, that this is a huge piece of this. The judgment and the shame and the blame are just going to drive it into the ground, and we'll be keeping more secrets and become more dysfunctional. So I mean, I think that's why we're doing this. It's just to bring it. We all have stories. We all have these stories to tell. And when I have found that when I start talking about this with people, and I do it from a fearless place, and it took me a while to get there, but everyone says, "Oh, I'm glad you said that." Oh, and maybe tentatively, yes, this happened to me or a friend of mine.
Exactly.
And I was blown away by how many people have been through something like this. Right. And we need to know that. We need to share this with each other. This is what changes the culture. I believe that. I really do.
That's right.
So
yeah. And we have another picture we want to show you today. We'll put Darby right here.
This is a picture, a little story. On our last vacation together, we went to the Rockies in Colorado, and this was the year before he died, in the summer, in July, near his birthday. And we were hiking in the mountains one day, and he was a photojournalist major in school, so we just got him a new camera for his birthday, and he was just really happy with that. And so we were climbing this mountain, and Darby crawled up the rock, like this rock formation, and this falcon was standing right on a rock. Like they were like this close to each other, and we should have had the presence of mind saying, maybe you might want to move because he could tear your face off.
But they were like this.
But they were saying, "Oh my God, this is so cool!" And Darby was just, it was just amazing. So, eventually, we did say
so magical,
but it was a magical thing. So this is a picture of it is.
So Darby, like, hey Falcon, it's you. Hey, it's you, Darby. What's up?
He took a picture of this, and this is a picture of the falcon he took, and we had this. My nephew Mark, who was also a wonderful photographer, worked with this image, and my nieces Heather and Johanna and Emily and my nephew Eric wrote a little a legend under this picture, which we had as part of his memorial. This is the picture he took and his close encounter with this falcon, and I just wanted to read a little bit about some of the like the Native American medicine around this and things associated with the falcon, which I have to get my glasses on for.
It's us, all real all the time.
I guess it's real.
All real all the time. We're not faking anything here, folks.
I can't see. So these are some of the attributes: awareness, teller of truths, able to see beyond the masks, prophetic insight, clear vision, able to move between the seen and the unseen world, unified with great spirit, The messenger, the falcon, awakens our vision and inspires us to a creative life purpose. And there's so much I could say about that.
And Darby, there he is in a nutshell.
And this, we felt at the time, Darby, that's a totem for you. And he would be totally poo-pooing anything like that, but he said, yeah, it is. So I just wanted to show you this, because I think that's just beautiful. And it really, it kind of captures him in some way.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It's a great story. It's a great story. Well, thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
And you know all the things we keep wanting to hit about to share with you about heroin addiction, Darby's story, Lissa's story, her journey with all of this. So we're going to keep showing up, keep talking about a little bit at a time, and get excited about all the other things we want to say when we get back on here. So we look forward to your comments. We're glad that you came to visit. We also want you to know you are not alone. Hopefully what we talk about resonates for you. We're all part of a beautiful, amazing, sensitive, talented, skilled, valued, and valuable tribe of beings. Every one of us. And our probably a big part of why we're talking about this is to reach out to everybody and to spread that truth and that word and that reality, to raise up Darby's story and Lissa's story, because we all share them. Mm-hmm. We all share them, and you're not alone. You're never alone, even though it can feel like it. So by bringing it out like this, for those of you that feel alone, and we know there are people that we hope will see this video, please forward it to people that you know are going through
Absolutely.
issues with addictions, with people that they love. Because when you're at night and it's dark and you're freaking out, play our video. Play our video. We see you. We know you. Learn from Lissa. Know that we know what you're talking about. There's a lot of empathy here. There's a lot of compassion here. You are not alone. You're just not. Even if it feels that way, you're not. We get it. Mm-hmm. We get it. And there's more of us that get it. And the more we talk about it, and the more we say, raise our hands, then more people will raise their hand. And we'll see that we're all just amazing people. There's no need to worry about and be fearful about skeletons that you have in the closet, quote, 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 all that stuff. Stigma, shame, all of that. The old, you're only as sick as your secrets. Let's get them out. You're no different than anybody else. Sometimes we look and we think, oh, those people have it perfect, or if I only could be like that, or oh my gosh, they didn't have an alcoholic father, or they didn't have someone with mental illness in their house, or they had a lot of money and I didn't. No, we're getting rid of all that. We're done with that. We're done. We're done with that. We're all awesome. We're all incredible, and we're going to do this together. We are going to maintain this life, and we're going to find joy and happiness together.
Right, exactly. And we're not claiming we have any answers. We are here to share. Mm-hmm. Because we're all trying to figure it out. That's what life is, right? We're just trying to figure it out. So it would be wonderful to hear from you too, and just open the conversation, mm-hmm. and know again, like Aileen says, know you're not alone. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good. All right, we'll push that button now. Oh, is it right there? You got it.